Oh wow, brakes are getting really soft. All right, and the brakes are smoking, so we're gonna actually keep going to cool these off. 2019 Audi S3, tastefully modified by the owner, Ryan. I like the spec. I like the way he set it up. Got this lip in the front, got the tow hook. We got these dark bluish wheels, carbon fiber lip spoiler. I'm a fan. I think Audis, when done in this way, they look sharp, they look clean, they look mean. We're powered by a 2-liter inline-4 that's turbocharged, and stock it would be making 288 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, but now it's about 380 to the crank with the mods that he's done, but more on that later. It's paired to an S-tronic 7-speed DCT with Quattro all-wheel drive. That's a front all-wheel drive base system that can send up to 50% to the rear as needed. And in terms of mods, we have a 034 Motorsport Stage 2 ECU Tune, TCU Tune, Inlet Pipe, Turbo Muffler Delete, APR Intake, APR Downpipe, custom single exit exhaust made by SS Race, APR Lowering Springs, 034 Motorsport ball joints, that's negative 2.6 degrees of negative front camber. And we're gonna need that because this is a McPherson strut front suspension, Dogbone mounts and inserts, and TSW Imatra wheels 18x9 with these Firehawk 500 tires with a 255 square setup. There's no trickery here like in the RS3 where they have the narrower section within the rear to make it feel more dynamic, to compensate for the deficiencies of the platform. Got to go back to comfort before going to dynamic, because the owner was telling me even if you start the car and it says dynamic, it actually has already switched to comfort. Got these paddle extenders here. I like the simple silver finish, looks good and matches the rest of the interior, the other silver metal-ish looking bits. Underneath the skin, this is essentially a Golf GTI that's a little bit more luxurious. All S3s came with a nice panoramic sunroof, ambient lighting. You have these nicer materials in an Audi versus a Volkswagen. Yeah, now we're actually making closer to 380 to the crank. Almost 100 pounds more over stock. Okay, I don't like the shift logic right now in dynamic mode. It is downshifting, or rather upshifting too conservatively. Let's switch it to manual. There we go. Nice, sharp, and crisp shifts from the 7-speed DCT. Dude, this thing is a rocket! Dynamically, these cars feel very front heavy, front wheel drive as well. You can feel the weight on the front end as you try to change directions. And it's resisting that change. The polar moment of inertia is forward in this car, and I'm sure the weight distribution is also pretty far forward. But the way that these cars are set up, even from factories, that they're just so easy to drive hard. The Holodecks all-wheel drive system sending up to 50% of the torque to the rear as needed gives you that confidence. They're quite capable too for what they are. Let's go to individual mode. We're gonna put the suspension and the steering into comfort mode, but everything else is still gonna be in sport. Give you a pull. And it auto upshifts at like 67 or 68, even though I'm in manual mode. Red line is 72, it looks like. You can just chuck this into a corner, mash the throttle midway through, and no issues. Like, it just claws for grip. Oh wow, brakes are getting really soft. Holy crap. Went from normal to very soft, very fast. All right, and the brakes are smoking, so we're gonna actually keep going to cool these off. Wow. Yeah, we definitely want to get that addressed before some spirited canyon driving. Granted, this car did just have a hot run with Fenton from the Zygreen channel right before this, so the brakes probably were already not that happy. We're gonna go easy the rest of the time. The S3, I would say, on the spectrum of things, is high on the competence, but low on feel. It's definitely more numb, and you see a lot of the German luxury cars, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, that are pushing more and more performance and competence in the sense that they can go fast, they can. This guy should do comfort now. By the way, the exhaust is actually quite droney as well. I'm not sure if I could daily drive this. So they really push the envelope with regards to performance, but at the cost of the connectedness and the feel. Like the steering here is pretty light. In the middle, it's really, really light, and then you add 5 degrees and it loads up, but there's no dynamic loading. So just like an artificial loading to the steering wheel, because as you get weight over the front wheels, you want it to load up. You want it to tell you and communicate how much you're demanding and asking of the front tires. But you don't get that here. The brakes very much feel like what you would expect in an S3. Not super grabby, not super firm. I mean, I'm talking about before it went soft and before we cooked the brakes. A lot of the inputs are more daily driver focused with just a little hint of that sportiness, which makes sense, right? You have a 4-door, you can seat your 4 or 5 adults, and with the mods that the owner has done, you can bomb the canyons and really push this thing and be impressed by its competency, but it's not giving you as much of a connected and communicative experience while doing so. It's one of those cars where it's like, hey, let's have fun by me showing you how much I can do. You ask of me X, Y, and Z, I'll deliver. But I'm not gonna tell you as the owner what's going on. I'm not gonna communicate the differences, the nuances, the texture of the road, what's happening to the front wheels, even the brake pedal, even the chassis communication. It's all muted. The DCT is actually quite excellent, especially for a car like this. I have no issues. Fast, smooth shifts. When you're going slow, they're smooth, and when you're pushing the car harder, they're quick and still really quite smooth on both the upshifts and the downshifts. The car weighs in right around 3,500 pounds, and it feels its weight, right? When you put it in, I feel like on this bumpy road, you really need to put it in that soft setting, because in the firmer setting, it gets a little bit too bouncy, too chattery with the adaptive dampers. But in both the dynamic and the comfort setting, I'm not gonna lie, you feel all 3,500 pounds. You can feel it with the body motion and such. And this car doesn't have the lowest center of gravity, which also accentuates that more. When a car has a lower center of gravity, you can actually overcome and hide some of that feeling in the weight, because you're not gonna have as much dive and squat and body roll as you turn and such. If you think about this from a medical or surgical perspective, this is not the car that is the scalpel that gives you the fine precision and feedback from all of your inputs. This is the car that is like the robot that augments you, but may not always have the same level of communication and feel, even though it can wow you and impress you by its technical prowess and proficiency. But you tell me what you guys think of this Audi S3. Big shout out to the owner Ryan for letting me review his car. If you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in the next one.